Ethan stepped off the shuttle and onto the smooth silver landing platform. The air smelled faintly metallic, and the sky above Scifi shimmered in colors he could not name. This planet was beautiful but also strange. Towering crystalline spires stretched toward the heavens, and streams of light floated in the air like living ribbons. He adjusted his backpack and glanced at the palace ahead. It was enormous, a structure that seemed to float above the ground, held by invisible forces. This mission was supposed to be simple: deliver a message of peace and understanding from Earth's council to the royal family. Yet standing here, Ethan felt a surge of nervous excitement. Diplomacy was tricky on Earth. On Zephora, it could be dangerous if he misstepped. "Remember, Ethan," his captain had said, "these people have traditions we don't understand. Be careful." Ethan swallowed and walked forward. The palace doors opened silently before him. Inside, light reflected off crystal walls, scattering rainbows across the floor. He was greeted by attendants with tall, elegant forms and glimmering clothing. They bowed slightly, their eyes serious. "Follow me," one of the attendants said in a voice that was soft but firm. They led him through corridors filled with moving holographic art, images that seemed alive, birds with impossible wingspans, creatures of glowing fur, and landscapes that shifted with the walls. Ethan had to remind himself to breathe. He had seen alien worlds in reports and films, but nothing prepared him for this. Finally, they arrived at a large chamber. At its center sat Princess Liara. She was unlike anything Ethan had imagined. Tall, graceful, with skin that shimmered like polished silver, and eyes the color of twilight. Her posture was regal, but there was a sharpness in her gaze that made Ethan feel immediately small and clumsy. "Welcome, human," she said. Her voice was smooth, almost musical, yet carried authority. Ethan felt his knees weaken slightly. He bowed awkwardly. "Princess Liara, it's an honor," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Liara's eyes studied him closely, and Ethan had the odd sense that she could see not just his face but his thoughts. "You have come to deliver words of peace," she said. "Yet your species is unfamiliar to us. Missteps may carry consequences. Are you aware of our customs?" I've read the reports, Princess," Ethan stammered. "I'll follow your guidance." Liara tilted her head, regarding him like one might inspect an unusual artifact. "Humans are clever. That may serve you well here, if you do not anger me." Ethan swallowed hard. There was a warning in her voice that made his stomach twist. He was so focused on not offending her that he didn't notice the small glowing pedestal beside her chair. It pulsed faintly, as if alive. Curiosity got the better of him. He stepped closer, careful not to overstep. His fingers brushed against the smooth surface. In an instant, a warm glow surrounded him and a soft hum filled the chamber. He jerked back. "Careful, human," Liara said, her voice calm but with a trace of amusement. "You have activated something you do not understand." I didn't mean to," Ethan said, stepping back again. The pedestal's light spread toward Liara. She rose gracefully, her movements fluid and commanding. The hum intensified. Ethan could feel it in his chest, like a vibration syncing with his heartbeat. His eyes widened as he realized the pedestal was not just a decorative artifact. It was a ceremonial interface, part of an ancient Zephyron tradition. "Do you know what you have done?" Liara asked. Her voice was still calm, but now there was a spark of amusement in her eyes. "No, I think I just touched a light," Ethan said, trying to sound casual, though his mind raced. Liara's lips curved slightly. "You have triggered the mating protocol. According to our customs, you are now considered my designated companion." Ethan froze. He had heard about alien protocols in briefings, but nothing prepared him for this. "Mating protocol?" he repeated, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," Liara said. "A human does not normally trigger it by accident. Your clumsiness has created a unique situation." Ethan felt his face heat up. He had no idea what this meant in practical terms. Did it mean he was in danger? Was it ceremonial, dangerous, binding? He had to tread carefully. "Princess, he began, but she raised a hand, stopping him. "Do not panic. The protocol does not require immediate action, but customs must be respected. You will follow me to the chambers where you will learn what is expected of you." Ethan nodded quickly. "Of course. I'll do whatever is needed to—" Liara's sharp glance made him stop mid-sentence. "Humans speak so quickly. We will see if your actions are as careful as your words." They walked through corridors that seemed to shift with every step. Ethan struggled to keep up. feeling more like a student than a diplomat. He noticed other attendants bowing deeply as they passed. Whispers in the strange Zypheran language followed them, but Ethan could not understand them. He only knew they were talking about him. Finally, they reached a chamber filled with softly glowing orbs. Holographic images hovered in midair, displaying symbols Ethan could not decipher. Liara gestured to the center of the room. "Step here, human," she said. Ethan obeyed, heart hammering. The floor beneath him shimmered. Lights circled around, creating a pattern that felt almost alive. Ethan felt an odd tingling sensation like static electricity combined with warmth. "This is a demonstration," Liara explained. "The protocol is not harmful. It is designed to recognize harmony, respect, and willingness to cooperate. Humans may find it unusual." "Unusual is one word for it," Ethan said nervously. Liara's eyes sparkled. "You are learning quickly. The first step is understanding our connection, which is based on observation, trust, and reaction to challenges. You will be tested." "Tested?" Ethan asked, unsure if this was a test of skill or diplomacy. Liara nodded. "Yes. The protocol measures how you respond to unexpected situations. It evaluates courage, intelligence, and respect. It is not about choice, at least not yet." Ethan took a deep breath. He had dealt with tricky situations before, but nothing like this. "I'll do my best," he said sincerely. Liara regarded him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then surprisingly, she smiled, just a little. "That may be enough. For now." Suddenly the room changed. Walls projected alien landscapes and the orbs floated around him like planets. He had to navigate through them, avoiding certain zones while touching others as instructed by Liara's gestures. Each movement was part of the test. Ethan felt his body tense as he moved carefully, trying not to make a mistake. One wrong step could trigger another stage of the protocol, and he had no idea what that would mean. Liara watched silently, her eyes sharp, observing every movement. "You humans are fragile yet resourceful. Perhaps that is why you survived the stars." Ethan couldn't help a small laugh. "I hope that's a good thing." "It is," Liara said softly, almost amused. "But remember, fragility can also be dangerous." After what felt like hours, though it was only minutes, the test ended. The lights dimmed, the holographic images vanished, and the chamber returned to its original glow. Ethan was sweating, his heart racing, but he had completed it. Liara stepped closer. "You have passed the first step." Many humans would fail immediately, frightened by the protocol's energy. Yours did not. Ethan exhaled in relief. "Thank you. I think." Liara's lips curved again, a small, enigmatic smile. "Tomorrow the next step begins. You will learn more about our culture, our customs, and perhaps about each other." Ethan nodded, realizing that his accidental activation had put him in a position he could never have imagined. He was entangled in something ancient and important, yet unpredictable. As he was escorted to his quarters, he tried to process everything. He had gone to Zephora to deliver a message of peace, but now he was part of a protocol that was far older and stranger than he could have imagined. He knew he would need every ounce of courage, patience, and quick thinking if he was going to survive this adventure, and perhaps earn the trust and respect of Princess Liara. Lying in his room, Ethan stared at the alien sky through his window. Stars shimmered in ways he had never seen before, and a strange excitement filled him. He had stumbled into something beyond diplomacy, beyond politics, something personal, something extraordinary. And deep down he knew this was only the beginning. Ethan woke to the soft hum of the palace. Light filtered through the tall windows, painting the room in gentle shades of violet and gold. His mind raced with thoughts of the previous day. The accidental activation of Princess Liara's mating protocol and the strange test he had passed. He sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing his temples. There was no way to prepare for what awaited him next. A gentle knock came at the door. "Enter," Ethan called. The door slid open to reveal an attendant carrying a tray of food. "Breakfast, human," she said, bowing slightly. Ethan blinked at the delicately glowing fruits and steaming liquids arranged neatly on the tray. Everything smelled faintly sweet yet unfamiliar. "Thank you," Ethan said, accepting the tray. He sat at the small table and hesitated before taking a bite. Each flavor was strange yet delicious, stimulating senses he hadn't realized could feel so alive. After breakfast, the attendant motioned for him to follow. Ethan stood, bracing himself for whatever challenges Liara had planned. They walked through the palace halls, and Ethan noticed subtle differences from the previous day. Faint, soft lights floated near the walls, moving as if alive, adjusting to the presence of each person who passed. The palace seemed more aware now, as if it recognized him as part of its rhythm. Finally, they arrived at a large atrium. Sunlight streamed through a domed ceiling of crystal, and plants with iridescent leaves stretched toward the sky. Liara stood in the center, her arms crossed. She looked calm, but there was a spark of amusement in her eyes. "You are awake," she said, her voice smooth. "Good. Today you will learn more about Zephoran culture. And more importantly, you will learn to move within it without accidentally dishonoring us." "Or yourself," Ethan swallowed. "I'll do my best, Princess." Liara's gaze softened slightly. "Do not underestimate your own abilities, human. You survived the first trial. Many would have failed." Ethan felt a small surge of pride. Thank you. I'll try to live up to that." Liara gestured for him to follow. They walked through winding corridors that opened into a training hall. The hall was vast, with walls that seemed to curve endlessly. Holographic symbols floated in midair, shifting constantly. "Your first lesson," Liara said, "is observation. You will watch, learn, and then act. In our culture, understanding is more important than speed. Many humans rush and fail." Ethan nodded, scanning the room. He saw attendants performing complex movements, a mixture of martial arts, gestures, and precise steps. Liara's eyes followed him closely. "Observe carefully," she instructed. "Then replicate. Do not fear mistakes. Fear of mistakes leads to errors," Ethan focused. The movements were intricate, almost like a dance, yet each gesture seemed to carry meaning beyond the physical. He mirrored the motions, clumsy at first, but gradually more confident. The attendants nodded subtly as he improved, and Liara's approving gaze encouraged him. "You are learning quickly," she said after a while. "Humans often rely on brute strength. You rely on thought. That is unusual and valuable." Ethan smiled. "I guess thinking helps when you don't know the rules." Liara's lips curved into a small smile. "It helps more than you realize." After the training, Liara led Ethan to a different part of the palace. The walls here were lined with shelves holding holographic books and devices that displayed information about Sci-Fi history, science, and culture. Ethan felt like a student in a library of wonders. "You will spend time here learning our ways," Liara said. "Understanding is part of the protocol. The closer you come to understanding, the smoother our interactions will be." Ethan nodded eagerly. "I want to learn. I don't want to make more mistakes." Liara studied him thoughtfully. "Mistakes are inevitable. What matters is how you respond to them. That is the heart of our culture. And the protocol." As Ethan studied, Liara watched quietly. She was intrigued by his persistence. Most humans would have been intimidated or fled after the first day. But he had adapted, learned, and even impressed the attendants. She had expected clumsiness. Instead, she found intelligence and resilience. The lessons continued throughout the day. Ethan learned to manipulate alien devices, navigate shifting chambers, and even communicate using subtle gestures. Every challenge required focus, patience, and creativity. At one point, Liara tested him directly. She moved toward him, holding a small orb that floated above her hand. "This is an energy sphere," she explained. "It reacts to emotion. Hold it without triggering a reaction. If you fail, it will release a harmless but startling pulse." Ethan took a deep breath and extended his hands. The orb hovered near him, glowing softly. He felt a wave of tension, as if the orb was probing his mind. Slowly, he adjusted his breathing, relaxed his body, and concentrated. The orb remained calm, floating steadily. Liara tilted her head, impressed. "You have control over your impulses. That is rare. Many humans fail the simple test." Ethan exhaled in relief. "I didn't fail?" "Not yet," she said, a hint of amusement in her voice. "But remember, trials will grow more complex. The next steps will not only test your skill, but your judgment." By the afternoon, Ethan was exhausted. Yet he felt a sense of accomplishment. He was learning, adapting, and surviving. Liara seemed to notice his determination. As the day drew to a close, Liara led him to a quiet balcony overlooking the palace gardens. Strange flowers glowed faintly, and the air was filled with the soft hum of alien life. "You have done well today," Liara said, her gaze distant. "Humans have a way of surprising us. I did not expect you to progress so quickly." Ethan looked at her, a mix of relief and curiosity on his face. "I just try to understand." I don't want to upset your customs or— Liara interrupted him with a soft laugh. You misunderstand. The protocol is not punishment. It is recognition. You have been recognized. That is why I watch you carefully. You are unusual, and unusual humans can be valuable. Ethan blinked, unsure how to respond. Valuable? Yes, Liara said simply. Not just to me, but to my people. You have potential, human. Do not squander it. The balcony was silent for a few moments. Ethan looked out at the glowing gardens, marveling at the beauty and serenity. He realized that despite the strangeness, he was starting to feel at home here, not in the sense of belonging fully, but in the sense that he could survive, adapt, and even impress. Liara's voice broke the quiet. Tomorrow you will face your first challenge outside the palace, a test that combines everything you have learned so far. You will need focus, courage, and adaptability. Are you prepared? Ethan nodded firmly. I'll be ready. Liara's eyes glimmered with a hint of amusement and respect. Good, remember human, mistakes are part of growth. But each step you take will define how we see your species. Do not disappoint, Ethan swallowed. The weight of the protocol, the expectations, and the unknown future pressed on him, but he felt determination rise. He would not fail. He would prove that humans were clever, resourceful, and capable, even in ways the Xiferans had never imagined. As he retired to his quarters, Ethan reflected on the day. He had survived tests, navigated unfamiliar customs, and learned more about Liara than he expected. Yet, the protocol still loomed over him, a constant reminder that every action had significance. Lying on his bed, he stared at the alien sky through the window. The stars shimmered and distant planets glowed faintly. Ethan felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. He was caught in something extraordinary, something ancient, and utterly alien, and he knew with certainty that tomorrow would demand more from him, more courage, more wit, and more humanity than he had ever shown before. But deep down he also felt a spark of hope. He was learning, adapting, and surviving, and somehow, against all odds, he was beginning to earn the respect of an alien princess. The next morning arrived with a soft chime echoing through Ethan's chamber. The light outside his window shifted from silver blue to warm gold. He sat up, feeling both anxious and excited. Princess Liara had mentioned a test outside the palace. He didn't know what it would be, but after 2 days on Xiphora, he was learning one thing. Nothing on this planet was ever simple. After breakfast, an attendant led him through a new corridor. It opened into a large transport bay filled with sleek vehicles that floated inches above the ground. Liara stood near one of them, wearing light silver armor that shimmered like liquid glass. Her expression was calm, but her tone carried authority. Today, she said, we leave the palace. The world outside is not as peaceful as these halls. You will see why our traditions exist. You will understand the importance of discipline and control. Ethan nodded, trying not to let his nerves show. I'll follow your lead, Princess. Liara gestured for him to board the craft. It lifted smoothly, gliding above the shining city. From the sky, Xiphora looked like a world made of crystal and light. Towering spires glowed softly, and rivers of energy pulsed through the streets below. It was breathtaking, but Ethan noticed something else. At the city's edge, smoke rose faintly. What's happening there? He asked. Liara's eyes darkened slightly. There are factions who believe our traditions have made us weak. They rebel against unity. They seek chaos, and they see you as a symbol of that chaos. Me? Ethan said in surprise. Yes, she replied calmly. Word has spread of the human who activated the royal protocol. Some believe it is an omen. Others a threat. Ethan exhaled slowly. So this trip isn't just about learning. It's about proving something. Liara looked at him and nodded. Exactly. You must show them that humanity brings not chaos, but balance. And you must show me that you are worthy of the protocol you awakened. The craft landed in a wide open area outside the city. The air here was drier, filled with the scent of minerals and faint ozone. Large crystal formations jutted from the ground, humming faintly. Liara led Ethan toward a massive archway that shimmered like water. This, she explained, is the trial field. It adapts to the one who enters. Every test is different, shaped by the participant's mind and fears. Ethan swallowed hard. So it reads your thoughts? Correct, she said, and reacts to them. But you will not be alone. Liara stepped through the arch first, and Ethan followed. Instantly, the world changed. They stood in a vast canyon glowing with red light. The ground shifted beneath their feet and distant thunder rolled. A holographic voice echoed through the air. Trial initiated. Participants, Liara of Zyphora, Ethan of Earth. Ethan looked around. What kind of trial is this? Liara's tone was steady. It will test our cooperation. If you panic, we fail. If you hesitate, we fall. Suddenly the canyon walls trembled. Giant mechanical creatures, metallic beasts with glowing eyes, emerged from the rocks. They were enormous, their movements shaking the ground. Those things don't look friendly, Ethan muttered. Liara unsheathed a slender weapon from her side, a blade that shimmered with blue energy. They are not. They react to fear. Stay calm. Ethan scanned his surroundings and spotted what looked like ancient technology embedded in the rocks. Panels, wires, and energy nodes glowed faintly. His engineering instincts kicked in. Princess, those creatures are powered by something in the ground. Look, the light under their feet matches the nodes on the walls. Liara turned her gaze to him, momentarily surprised. You see patterns quickly. Can we overload those nodes? Ethan asked. Perhaps, she replied. If you can reach them. Ethan nodded, already moving. One of the creatures turned toward him, its eyes glowing brighter. He ducked behind a rock as the ground exploded where he'd been standing. Dust filled the air, but Ethan kept going, heart pounding. He reached one of the panels and pulled out a small multi-tool from his belt. Sparks flew as he worked. Liara covered him, her movements precise and elegant. Every strike of her blade cut through the air with deadly grace. She was fast, almost faster than his eyes could follow. Human. She called out, "How much longer?" "Almost there," Ethan shouted, twisting a final connector. The node flared with bright light. The mechanical beasts faltered, their glowing eyes flickering. Liara took advantage of the moment, striking hard. Energy crackled across her weapon as she brought one of the creatures down in a burst of light. Ethan scrambled toward another node, sliding under debris. I can disable the rest if I get a clear line. Liara moved with precision, creating space for him. The partnership, though unplanned, worked perfectly. Ethan's quick thinking and Liara's combat skill balanced each other. Within minutes, the remaining creatures froze and shattered into fragments of light. The canyon fell silent. The red glow faded to gold. Ethan stood there, breathing heavily. Is it over? Liara looked around and nodded slowly. It seems so. Then she turned to him with a strange expression, something between surprise and admiration. You acted with intelligence, not fear. You adapted, and you trusted me. Ethan smiled faintly. You didn't give me much choice, Princess. Her lips curved in the faintest smile. That is how true cooperation works. Before they could leave, a rumble shook the canyon again. A shadow loomed above them, a massive structure not part of the trial. Liara's expression changed instantly. That is not part of the simulation. Out of the clouds descended a dark ship, bearing the sigil of a rebel faction. It was real. The rebels had tracked their location. Energy bolts rained down, forcing them to take cover. Ethan shouted over the noise, They're attacking you because of me, aren't they? Liara's eyes narrowed. They attack because they fear change, and yes, they see you as a threat to our traditions. The ship's engines roared. Several armed figures landed nearby. They were Zipherans too, but their armor was dark and jagged. The leader raised a weapon that crackled with energy. Surrender, Princess. The Council will not accept a human contaminating our royal line. Ethan stepped forward before Liara could respond. Hey, I didn't choose this. But I'm not backing down either. The rebels laughed. The human speaks as if he matters, Liara's eyes flashed. He does matter. More than you understand. Without hesitation, she moved, fast as lightning. The rebels fought back, but Ethan saw that she was outnumbered. Thinking quickly, he dashed toward a fallen piece of machinery, recognizing its energy source. Liara, he called. Can you draw them closer? Liara nodded and leapt between attackers, forcing them into a tight group. Ethan activated the machinery, rerouting its power through his multi-tool. Sparks flew, and a surge of light burst from the ground, knocking the rebels backward. Their weapons shorted out and the ship's engines sputtered. One rebel aimed a weapon at Liara's back. Ethan didn't think. He ran, tackling her out of the way as the blast struck the ground where she had stood. The explosion sent them both rolling across the dust. For a brief moment, silence fell again. Smoke rose from the wrecked ship and the rebels retreated, carrying their wounded. Ethan groaned, pushing himself up. I think we won. Liara looked at him, breathing hard, her armor cracked. You risked yourself. For me, Ethan gave a tired grin. You would have done the same. For a long moment, Liara said nothing. Then she finally spoke, her tone softer than before. Perhaps I was wrong about humans. You are not reckless. You are brave. Ethan shrugged modestly. I'm just trying not to die. Liara smiled faintly. And yet you saved lives instead. The sky cleared and the trial field dissolved, revealing the open plains beyond the archway. The voice returned. Trial complete. Bond strength elevated. Cooperation exceptional. Ethan blinked. Did it just say bond strength? Liara nodded. Yes, it measures our synchronization. The more we trust each other, the stronger the protocol connection becomes. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. So we passed?
More than passed, Liara said.
You have proven your worth to Zyphora, and to me. As they returned to the ship, the palace guards saluted them. News of their victory had already reached the capital. Ethan felt the weight of the stairs, but also their respect. For the first time since arriving, he didn't feel like an outsider. Liara turned to him before boarding. Ethan of Earth, she said softly, you have earned your place among us. But understand this is only the beginning. The rebels will not stop and the council will question everything. Yet I will stand beside you. Ethan looked at her, surprised by her words. Then I'll stand beside you too. A small smile touched her lips. Then perhaps human our worlds are not so different after all. As their ship rose into the golden sky, Ethan realized how much had changed. He had come as a diplomat, stumbled into a protocol, and somehow become part of something far greater, a fragile alliance that could shape the future of two worlds. And deep inside, he knew this wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about trust, respect, and the unexpected bond between a human and an alien princess who saw in him something extraordinary. The Zifferin Palace was quiet after days of chaos. The golden corridors that once echoed with alarms now shimmered peacefully in the soft glow of twin moons. Ethan walked through them beside Princess Liara, feeling the strange stillness settle around him. Everything that had happened, the attack, the betrayal, the escape, felt like a distant dream. Yet the weight of what he had done lingered in every glance from the guards who bowed when he passed. Ethan was no longer a mere visitor or diplomat. On this alien world, he had become something else, someone respected, someone known. Liara walked beside him with calm confidence. Her usual sharp tone had softened over the last few days. You did more than I expected from a human, she said. When the attack began, even my guards were uncertain. Yet you stayed. Ethan gave a small smile. I didn't have much of a choice. Running away didn't seem polite. That earned a quiet laugh from the princess, something rare for her. Humor even in danger, she said. Your kind is strange, but admirable. They entered the grand hall where the Council of Zyphora was waiting. The chamber's walls glowed with living light, pulsating softly like veins of energy. Alien advisors in flowing robes turned their gazes toward Ethan and Liara. At the center stood the Elder of Protocols, a tall, silver-skinned figure whose expression never seemed to change. Liara spoke first, her voice echoing across the chamber. The threat has been dealt with. The conspirators who sought to break the treaty between Zyphora and Earth have been captured. Their plan failed because of one human's actions. She turned toward Ethan. Ethan Reed has proven that humanity deserves not just respect, but trust. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He had never been good with grand speeches or attention, but now hundreds of alien eyes were focused on him. I just did what anyone would do, he said. You were in danger, and I couldn't stand by. The elder stepped forward, his silver eyes studying him. And yet, he said, in doing so you fulfilled more than a duty. You changed the outcome of destiny itself. The ancient protocol between the royal bloodline and its chosen counterpart was never meant to be broken. But neither was it meant to control. You helped us understand that balance. Ethan blinked, unsure how to respond. Thank you? Liara hid a small smile. He means you showed us something new. On Zyphora, tradition guides us. But today you reminded us that choice makes us stronger. The elder raised his hand, and the glowing sigils of the mating protocol appeared briefly in the air, soft lines of light forming a delicate pattern between Ethan and Liara. The council gasped, expecting the princess to finalize it. But instead she stepped forward and placed her palm over the symbols. The lights faded away. The protocol is complete, Liara said. Not by ritual, but by understanding. Gasps filled the chamber. Even Ethan froze, not knowing what that meant. Wait, did I just get unbonded or promoted? He whispered. Liara looked at him with amusement. Neither, she said softly. You are free, but your actions will forever be recorded in the royal archives. You have given Zyphora a new way to see humanity. The council bowed slightly. The elder declared, From this day, the alliance of Zyphora and Earth shall be built on shared choice, not ancient code. Ethan exhaled slowly, realizing the weight that had just been lifted. The strange protocol that once bound him by accident was now undone, but it had left behind something deeper than obligation: respect, trust, and connection. After the meeting, Ethan followed Liara through the palace gardens. The air was filled with glowing pollen drifting like tiny stars, and bioluminescent vines curled around marble pillars. The night sky above shimmered with constellations he had never seen on Earth. You know, Ethan said, breaking the silence, when I first got here, I thought I'd just shake a few hands, sign a few treaties, and go home. I didn't expect any of this, Liara smiled faintly. You humans have a way of changing what you touch. You turn chaos into something meaningful. Even your mistakes seem to lead somewhere. Ethan chuckled. That's a polite way to say I mess things up. Perhaps, she said. But even in error you show courage. When you activated the protocol you could have begged for mercy. Instead you faced it. When the attackers came you stood with me. You could have run, but you fought. He looked at her, noticing the faint glow of her markings under the moonlight. Maybe it wasn't courage, he said softly. Maybe I just didn't want to let someone down. For a moment there was silence. The alien princess, known for her pride and strength, looked almost human in that light, vulnerable, thoughtful. Whatever the reason, she said, it changed everything. They reached the royal balcony that overlooked the glowing city. Flying crafts moved like silver fish through the air, their trails painting the dark sky. The entire planet seemed alive with light. Liara turned to him. The council has agreed to establish a permanent embassy between our worlds. You will be its first envoy. Ethan blinked. Me? But I nearly caused a diplomatic disaster. Perhaps, Liara said with a small smirk, but you also prevented a war. That is what makes you perfect for the role. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck, half embarrassed. I guess I'll need to study Zyphoran etiquette again. Maybe without triggering any ancient artifacts this time. Liara gave a small, genuine laugh. That would be wise. Then, after a pause, she added, You may stay in the palace until the embassy is complete. My advisors will assist you. Ethan nodded. Thank you, Princess. As he turned to leave, Liara spoke again. Ethan. He stopped and looked back. On Zyphora, when one shares danger and victory, a bond is formed, not by protocol, but by choice. I consider you an ally. And a friend. Ethan smiled warmly. The feeling's mutual, Your Highness. The following days passed peacefully. Construction of the new embassy began, and communication between Earth and Zyphora grew frequent. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats arrived to learn from one another. Ethan became a symbol of cooperation, a human who had faced alien tradition with heart instead of fear. His story spread across both worlds, not as a tale of accident, but of unity. One evening, while walking through the palace again, Ethan found himself back in the chamber where the entire mess had begun. The room with the glowing royal artifact. The object sat quietly now, its once active symbols dim. He smiled at it, remembering the chaos it caused. I should probably not touch anything this time, he muttered. But as he turned to leave, Liara entered wearing her ceremonial robe. It feels strange, doesn't it, she said. The place where everything began. Ethan nodded. Yeah, if someone had told me I'd end up rewriting royal law by tripping over a light beam, I'd have laughed. Liara stepped closer to the artifact. Sometimes fate hides behind foolish moments. She pressed her hand against a panel, and the room lit up again with a soft, harmless glow. This protocol once bound us to the past. Now it will serve a new purpose, symbolizing the friendship between our species. Ethan watched the light swirl around them. So, you're keeping it active? As a memory, she said, and as a promise. The light pulsed once and then faded into a gentle shimmer. Ethan smiled. Well, if it ever starts glowing red again, I'm running. Liara laughed, shaking her head. You humans, always joking in sacred places. Helps with the nerves. he said. You aliens can be intimidating. Good, she replied teasingly. It keeps you careful. As the night deepened, Ethan stood on the balcony again, watching the stars. The horizon glowed with the soft light of 1,000 cities. Somewhere beyond those stars was Earth, his home. Yet standing here, he didn't feel so far from it anymore. Liara joined him silently. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she said, You taught me something, Ethan. Power is not in control, but in understanding. That is something even our oldest traditions forgot. He looked at her and smiled. And you taught me that sometimes the universe has a strange sense of humor. Liara's eyes softened. Perhaps that's what keeps it beautiful. They stood together in silence, two beings from distant worlds, no longer bound by protocols or fear, but connected by choice and respect. As a soft wind passed through the balcony, the stars above shimmered brighter as if the universe itself approved, and somewhere in the palace below the old artifact flickered once, sending a faint pulse of light into the sky, a silent acknowledgement that something new had begun between their worlds.